Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're exploring a philosophy that's been sort of an open secret among high performers for over 20 years now.
Not
We're
forget.
pulling key excerpts from Robin Sharma's bestseller, The 5 a.m. Club.
And this is so much more than just, wake up early. What we're really digging into is a full methodology for changing your entire mindset. It's all wrapped up in this story about an eccentric billionaire, Stone Riley.
Right, and he takes on these two students, an entrepreneur who's kind of lost her way and a struggling artist.
Exactly. And through this narrative, he teaches them these actionable secrets to what he calls world-class performance.
So our mission today is really to pull out those core concepts. The big promise is own your morning, elevate your life. But there's a catch right at the start, a really critical idea.
There is. He says that 95% of people operate in a state of superficiality.
Superficiality. So what does that mean in this context?
It means, you wake up, you immediately check your phone, you're reacting to notifications, you're doing the easy stuff first. It's the path of least resistance. The top 5%, though, they choose rigor.
And rigor is. It's about deliberate, painstaking effort.
Daily. Apply daily to the things that actually matter. Without that rigor, you can't get to that next level.
Okay, so how do you even start? What's the first practical step away from that default superficial state?
It all begins with what the book calls the three-step success formula. This is the ladder, really, to get from that state of superficiality up to what he calls granularity.
Granularity, that sounds detailed. I think a lot of people feel like they're already drowning in details.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
But it's not about more detail. It's about focusing on the right ones. It's that intense attention to the small things, the quiet parts of your life, the tiny components of your craft. The top performers get this. They know greatness is found in those margins.
Well, the rest of us avoid it because, well, it's hard work.
It is painstaking. So this three-step formula is the roadmap.
Okay, walk us through it. What are the steps?
Step one is all about learning and growing. This relentless focus, it has to lead to better awareness. You have to know what levers to pull.
Before you can actually pull them. Makes sense.
Then step two is implementation and execution. With that new awareness, you start making better choices. These are the hard choices the 95% avoid.
And that leads to step three.
Step three, the outcome, income and impact. Those better choices, day after day, they just inevitably create better results. It's a loop. You're basically designing your own evolution.
But that initial shift, going from reacting all day to deliberately growing must feel like hitting a wall. The book has a quote for this, right? The mentor says something like,
World class begins where your comfort zone ends. That's the whole foundation. Our culture kind of suggests that a good life should just happen. That should be easy.
but the source is pretty blunt about that.
It's brutally honest. It says, all possibility requires hard work, regular reinvention, and a dedication to leaving our harbors of safety daily. If it wasn't hard at first, it wouldn't be a real change.
And that's where the compounding comes in, the day-stacking foundation, this idea that success is built on micro wins.
This is one of my favorite parts. It's just simple math. We get so intimidated by huge goals.
Oh, absolutely.
But this asks you to just focus on a 1% improvement each day. Just 1%. Do that for a month. You're 30% better. Do it for a year.
It's 365% better. You're almost 4 times better at whatever you were working on.
Exactly. So you stop trying to build this perfect life overnight. You just focus on creating one great day. That's it. And those days stack up. The key to that great day is the very first hour.
Which brings us to the core of the system, the victory hour. That 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. window structured with the 20-20-20 formula.
This is the sacred hour. This is where you calibrate yourself to win the day before the day even begins.
Okay, so let's break it down. The first 20 minutes, 5,000 to 00 to 5:10 a.m. is move. And this has to be intentional, right? You need to sweat.
You have to.
Why that first? Why not reflection or planning?
Because of the neurochemistry. That intense movement, it jacks up your metabolism, starts burning fat, sure. But the real magic is the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor BDNF.
BDNF. Okay, break that down for us because the source claims it can literally grow new brain cells.
It can. Think of BDNF as high-grade fertilizer for your brain. It actually repairs brain cells damaged by stress. It makes your neural connections faster. So you think more clearly, more creatively. And yes, it promotes neurogenesis.
The growth of new brain cells?
The actual growth of new brain cells. You're literally upgrading your own hardware just by sweating first thing in the morning.
So the motto, train harder, live longer. It's not just a catchy phrase.
Not at all. It's about optimizing yourself so you can actually be around to make an impact.
So after the body and brain are primed, we hit the next 20 minutes. Reflect. From 5:20 to 5:40 a.m., this is all about stillness, silence, often journaling.
And in our world of constant noise and distraction, silence is the new luxury.
It really is. What's the goal here?
The goal is to find what the mentor calls residual wisdom. Before the day's chaos starts pulling you around, you anchor yourself in your values, your patience, your goals, how you want to show up.
And there's a specific tool for this part, the pre-performance blueprint.
Yes. You literally write out your ideal day, what you'll do, how you'll feel, what you want to achieve. Researchers have confirmed this, pre-commitment strategies, they work wonders for focus and discipline.
So you're scripting your success before the world can throw you off track.
You're setting the terms for the day, and that mental prep flows right into the final 20 minutes from 5:40 to 6:00 a.m., which is grow.
This is that relentless learning piece from the success formula.
Right. And the focus have to be on deep consumption, not just scrolling articles. We're talking about reading books, studying biographies, digging into works on innovation or leadership. The billionaire character mentions that all his successful friends have this in common. They just have an absolute love of learning.
They never stop.
Never.
Okay, so we have the strategy, the morning routine, but let's talk about the biggest hurdle, actually sticking with it. You do it Monday, maybe Tuesday, but by Wednesday, that snooze button is calling your name.
And the methodology says that difficulty is proof that you're doing it right. It means you're actually rewiring your brain. To get through that, the system gives you the habit installation protocol, a 66-day minimum commitment.
66 days. Okay, that's a serious commitment. So you need to know what to expect. What happens in those first few weeks?
Stage 1, which is days 1 through 22, is called the destruction stage.
Destruction. Sounds intense.
It is. This is where you're tearing down old neural pathways, the habit of sleeping in, of checking your phone. Your brain actively fights you on this. It's supposed to feel hard. It's where most people quit.
So feeling that struggle isn't a sign you're failing. It's a sign it's working.
Exactly. If you get through that, you enter stage 2. That's days 23 to 44, the installation stage. Now it starts to get a little less difficult. The new habit begins to feel, well, not automatic yet, but more natural.
You're not fighting yourself quite as much.
Right. And then comes the final stretch.
Stage 3.
Days 45 to 66, the integration stage. If you've been consistent, this is where the habit reaches what they call the automaticity point. It's now part of your system. It feels weird not to do it.
And this whole process, it's really about training your willpower like a muscle. I love that idea in the source. You don't have the brain you want. You have the brain you've earned.
Precisely. Willpower isn't something you're born with. It's something you build through small, intentional challenges. Every time you choose to get up, instead of hitting snooze, you're doing a rep. You're strengthening that muscle.
And the brain physically changes in response. The book mentions the London taxi drivers.
Yes, that's a perfect real-world example of neuroplasticity. To get their license, they had to memorize thousands of streets, a hugely complex task. And studies showed that the part of their brain responsible for spatial memory, the hippocampus, was physically larger.
So they literally grew their brains through effort.
They sculpted their own brains. You can do that your entire life as long as you apply that productive stress.
Which raises a really important question. Once you get to this high level of rigor, how do you avoid just completely burning out? The mentor says, you never want to be the richest person in the graveyard.
Right, and the secret is that you can't just grind forever. Elite performers operate on what the book calls the twin cycles of elite performance. They understand you have to oscillate.
Oscillate between
Periods of intense work, the high excellence cycle, or HEC, and periods of the deep refueling cycle, the DRC.
a deep refueling cycle. What does that look like? Is it just taking a vacation?
It's more intentional than that. It's deliberate rest, recovery, and pure non-productive fun. It's about protecting what he calls the 5 assets of genius: your mental focus, physical energy, willpower, talent, and time. All work and no rest doesn't just make you tired, it actively depletes your greatness.
So rest isn't lazy, it's a productive necessity.
It's essential. And nothing is more essential to that refueling than deep sleep. The science in the book on this is incredible. When you sleep, your brain cells actually shrink by about 60%.
60%. Why?
This shrinkage allows cerebral spinal fluid to flow in and literally wash your brain, clearing out all the metabolic waste that builds up during the day. And this cleaning process only happens when you sleep,
So if you're not getting enough quality sleep, you are literally leaving toxic junk in your brain.
which impairs your thinking and, yes, leads to an earlier death. It all ties together. The 5 a.m. start forces an earlier, high-quality bedtime.
And while you're maintaining this balance, there's another psychological trap to avoid: hedonic adaptation.
Yes, the new car, the big promotion, it feels amazing for a week, and then it's just normal. The joy fades.
So how do you fight that? How do you stay grateful and driven?
You apply the billionaire's maxim #8, which is to constantly and consciously raise the quality of your life's experience. It's not about buying more stuff. It's about elevating the standard of being alive.
What's a practical example of that?
It could be investing in beautifully made books instead of cheap paperbacks. It could be choosing to have one fantastic, perfectly prepared salad at a beautiful restaurant instead of a big cheap meal somewhere else. But surrounding yourself with beauty, like fresh flowers. These things, they raise your frequency, they change your perspective.
It seems like the whole journey for the entrepreneur and the artist in the story was about realizing that upgrading yourself is the most direct way to upgrade your impact on the world. Greatness really is an inside job.
It is. The entrepreneur, she sums it up perfectly at the end. She says, "Nothing's as valuable as my happiness. Nothing's as priceless as my peace of mind." She commits to using the victory hour to keep calibrating her mindset, her heart set, her health set, and her soul set.
And she even finds peace with the people who betrayed her. She has this realization that if they had known better, they would have done better. She steps out of the drama.
And that's the ultimate sign of a calibrated life. A life built on that foundation of rigor and recovery.
Which leaves us with a final thought to mull over, a quote from the poet Thomas Campbell that really captures the spirit of this whole thing. He wrote, "To live in hearts we leave behind is not to die." And that's the real challenge for you to think about. How will you use your time, maybe starting with the next 66 days, to make sure your life is a testament to your own capacity for legendary? We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.